Hey kids, this is Ivan. How you doing? I tell you what, a long time ago, I don't know, yeah, a few years ago, I guess, at least, I made a blooper reel, for lack of a better word. I think it was called "This is isn't easy as it looks, kids." And maybe I make another one because sometimes it's amazing how many takes I go through before I make one of these videos, and so maybe I should go back and look through these hundreds of little clips around my computer and find all these really funny parts. Probably be a lot of swearing in it, so maybe I shouldn't put that in there, but it's entertaining. Anyhow. I got a chance to watch this great video today by Robert the Narrator, and it was kind of a response to mine, sort of. This is not going to be a video response to that, but it really made me chuckle. A great video, and he's kind of talking about that 5th edition D&D initiative alternative that Mike Mearls came up with, and I made this video saying, hey, this is kind of cool. I would use this in an OSR game. And Robert comes from a different tack, saying this is kind of a rule or a solution in search of a problem. And I agree with a lot of what he said. It was a cool alternate take on it. Great video. I'll link it below, or try to remember to link it below. The part that really made me smile, though, is here I am and finding myself in the position of, here I am, the champion of rules light and simple. And I'm finding myself on the side of this discussion where I'm favoring the more complicated rule. I just found that incredibly entertaining, and I started laughing at the whole absurdity of the discussion, of the hobby myself. It was very entertaining. So, a lot of fun today. But anyhow, I want to talk about something that I kept on meaning to talk about and saying I was going to talk about, and that is the Game Master's cheat sheet. And this is something I really like to use. I've used to great effect in the past. I've used to some relatively good effect very recently in a few games, and just very helpful. And it's funny also, I just saw today, I'm thinking, well, I'm going to make this video today, I'm going to work, and I pull up, I think this morning or this early, whatever it was, probably still early morning when it comes right down to it, on Facebook, one of the groups that I'm a member of, and I don't think it was RPG Brigade, somebody linked this article where they're talking about something like this, a party sheet, something that the Game Master can use. But they were coming at it from a different angle, or with a different intention. And I did not read the entire article, so it could be, before I misspeak, that they kind of got to my point as well. But they're talking more in the idea of some kind of balance. So if you're going to, plan encounters or whatever for the group, and there's going to be all kinds of locks and what have you in this building or edifice or encounter, whatever the heck it is, and nobody in the party has things like disable device at a particular level, well then, how could the adventure move forward? And so that's not really what the tack I'm taking on this. But anyhow, this is not a new idea. This is not something I made up. I went digging around, and sure enough, I found it. My old Advanced D&D Dungeon Master's Adventure Log, and this is something you put down. You put down the party, and maybe what they defeated, or the monsters they faced, the treasure they got, all this kind of good stuff. This is the actual one I actually use, so it's not worth as much as some of the other ones out there, because look, there's actual players there. Where is that? Yeah, actual characters, actual players from actual times, including like Brother Percival, Sane Shadowbane, DJ Baja, Soil Fireheart. This is real actual characters. But anyhow, the sheets kind of look like this. They give you this little look at the party, and I love this here. I forgot all about this. Actual pictures of the armor. There was all kinds of great stuff in these little supplements they had for Advanced D&D back in the day, and I forgot all kinds of little neat things. Oh, some barding. Okay, this video is not about barding, but here's a more recent example. One I kind of held up after doing my All for One Regime Diabolique game, and I realized that I need to use bigger font. I put too many people on this, but this is kind of a little cheat sheet for the party. That I made, and I realized, I'm old enough that I need bifocals, and I probably need new bifocals or progressive, so it's a little bit tougher. So what do I use these things for? A few different things. First of all, it's really cool. Just what do I write down on it? I write down pretty much everything that's salient about the characters. It might be their ability scores. It might be if they have any particular nifty items or doodads or abilities. What makes them special. What are their weaknesses? It might be I might write down things like their health or their defense or armor class score. Or saving throws, or whatever the usual abilities are going to come up, and a couple different reasons. The first one is it gives me this kind of finger on the pulse of the party, and even if it comes right down to things like health or hit points, like how close is Joe to dying. Not that I'm going to cheat or fudge dice rolls or whatnot, but the players dutifully taking stuff off on their sheet. But I can kind of look and say, well, how hurt are people? Sometimes this guides how I interact with them in terms of um, my interactions with the players, and sometimes suggesting, well, okay, well, you are a little beat up. What do you do at this point? Do you continue press on? Gives me a little better idea of where they are. I think it's just kind of intelligent. Not to say that if they want to decide to do whatever, that's fine, but at least I know where they're at. The other thing, though, and I've talked about this many times on the channel, the idea I use it for something like kind of like auto pass. When there's an ability or a skill or something involved, where the player ought to be able to do this based on how talented they are, who they are, what they are, and so it's easier to do that. It becomes less clunky, and you do less game speak in the game if I can just look down the sheet and say, okay, well, let's see. I decided like anybody that has a 14 or greater intelligence, if we're playing like old school D&D, they all notice this. I don't even have to ask them. I don't have to bring up the subject of their intelligence. This is what they notice. Right off the bat, or people with a dexterity of such and such are able to cross this narrow beam that's wet and moldy and whatever without a problem, and other people have to roll for it or whatever. So that gives me a good idea. In the ubiquity based games too, it gave me the same power to look at these things, because in ubiquity characters can often take the average where they're kind of auto succeeding at a test of something or an ability or skill that they have. Why do I always have to bring that up to them? I don't have to. I can simply look down at the sheet and decide that so and so is athletic enough, they should be able to perform this particular task or skill or stated action without ever bringing it up to them. Or it could be even just things like empathy. People may just notice right off the bat. Like I'm looking at the party here and say, okay, well Martin has empathy of 4, Briscoe empathy of 5, Jean-Marie and Philippe, no real discernible empathy. We didn't invest in that skill. So I can say, if things are have a difficulty of 2, I don't need to ask for any sort of rolls. I could just tell Martin and Briscoe right off the bat, what did you notice? What did you notice about this person? If they prefer to roll, if it's a harder task, I can ask for roll. Otherwise, I never even need to bring up the name of the skill. I can simply just continue to narrate that particular part of the game. If somebody says they want to lean in and look a little bit more, you get the idea. It's a situation by situation basis, but it's really helpful to have these things available. I can look down here and say, all right, well, I know right off the bat if I want somebody shooting, well, I want Jean-Marie to do that. Which Martin, okay with a musket, but not fantastic, which makes me a little nervous because he shot his own father. And I was holding on to the guy. Somehow he missed my head. Hopefully it was magically enhanced that day. I really hope so. People like to shoot stuff right at me when my character's in game, to shoot at the things that are next to me. But anyhow, there's nothing to do with that. But really, every time I don't have some sort of cheat sheet about the party with me as a game master, I always feel like kind of naked. Like, man, I wish I had that. And the times I do take the time to make one up, sometimes I'll use it a little bit, but I feel better for having it. It's just another resource that I can look at. We don't have to engage in as much game speak, and I can just kind of eyeball things throughout the game and know what the characters should be able to do without breaking a sweat, or just have my finger on a lot of the pulse of the party. So that's a little extra of little tool, tip, or trick. I'm not really sure what kind of video this is, but something that I like to use that makes running a game a lot easier. A little bit more work on the front end, but once you have one, it's pretty easy to maintain. So there you have it, kids.